Do you ever run out of time for ACT reading section? Do you ever have to guess the last few questions on the ACT because you don't have any time left? Here are some tips for how to speed read. Hi, I'm Rina from CollegeGate Academy, the ACT-specific institute in Roppongi, Tokyo. We also offer online classes for those living outside of Japan or Tokyo, so visit collegegateacademy.com for more information. ACT is known for the time crunch, but ACT reading questions are actually pretty simple, and a lot of students get a really high score if they go 5 to 10 minutes over the time limit. You have 35 minutes to complete 40 questions or 4 passages, so you want to finish each passage in around 8 minutes. They ask you things that are directly mentioned in the passage, so speed reading would definitely help to increase your ACT reading score. Before you start practicing speed reading, you should set a stopwatch and time how much it takes you to read one passage and the time it takes you to complete passage questions. Let the stopwatch run for the entire ACT reading section and press the lap button on your phone as you finish reading a passage or answering questions. You want to aim for around 4 minutes to finish reading a passage because you have a total of 8 minutes to read and answer questions per passage. The first tip for speed reading is eliminating pauses in your reading. Sometimes you do this unconsciously, so how do you notice these pauses? There's a popular technique called the finger tracing technique that makes you trace where you're reading with your finger, and by doing this, you flow faster to the next word or sentence. Sometimes I see my students' fingers pause while they're reading, so I would say go ahead and use the finger tracing technique not just to make your reading flow faster, but also to physically notice when you pause in the middle. Another way to eliminate pauses is to turn off your internal narration. Internal reading can really slow you down because you're trying to internally pronounce out all these words. And if you stumble upon a word that you don't know exactly how to pronounce, then you can pause and waste your time. I try to turn off my internal narration by using the finger tracing technique and letting it slide fast so that the internal narration can't catch up. Another way to eliminate pauses in your reading is to familiarize yourself with vocabulary. Not knowing a word can be a cause to your pause, so knowing adjectives or vocabulary that's related to science or history might help. If you happen to stumble upon a word that you don't know, don't pause and just keep reading. Chances are, reading on and understanding the passage as a whole will give you a clue on what that word meant. Another tip for speed reading is watch out where you're paying attention to. You don't want to give undivided attention to every single word because time is more precious on the ACT. There are 3 points where you want to pay attention to. Number 1, beginnings and ends of everything. You want to pay attention to beginnings and ends of a sentence, paragraph, or the entire passage. And this is because every single sentence or paragraph serves its own meaning with a different main idea. And a lot of ACT questions ask for main ideas. Main idea of a sentence, a paragraph, or the entire passage. So understand main ideas of different scales by paying attention to beginnings and ends of different scales. By paying attention to beginnings and ends, you will also likely be able to notice conclusions and thesis of different scales, just like the main ideas. And these are also frequently asked on the ACT. So pick up conclusion, thesis, and main ideas along the way. Another point you want to pay attention to is which person the passage is being delivered in. First person, second person, or third person? Who is delivering it? A narrator, the main character, or the main character from a few years ago talking to the present self? ACT often asks this question, and it's pretty easy to catch how the passage is being delivered, so make sure you pay attention to that. You also want to pay attention to trigger words. For example, there are words that give contrast, such as however, on the other hand, although, etc. Not only might important information come after this, but these contrast words might cause a shift in tone. So watch out for tone change when you encounter these. The last thing I'm going to talk about attention is where to not pay attention to. Don't pay attention to lists. Just skim them really quickly because chances are they're too detailed and the ACT isn't going to ask for them. For example, the first list mentions what the main character ate when he was young. The second list mentions who he lived with. Now, who he lived with and what he ate aren't the main points of these 2 sentences. The main point of this sentence is that he didn't have enough to eat when he was young. The main point of the second sentence is that he lived with a foster care. Understanding ACT passages in its holistic perspective is so much more efficient than paying attention to every single word in the list and trying to memorize them. That being said, ACT rarely asks for things that are on the list, but if they do happen to ask for them, then you know the general area of where the list is located within the passage, so you can always go back. But it's highly unlikely that the ACT will ask for things that are on the list. Do you have any other questions? Comment down below, and if you learned anything today, press the thumbs up button and subscribe to our YouTube channel.